So if you studied a language in high school or college and you've become proficient in that, but it wasn't your native language, you are a sequential bilingual speaker. Which of the following is an example of higher order thought questions about shared book reading that teachers can use to increase thinking and study skills in English language learners? So the answer to that is, what did the main character in the story think or believe when this happened? So we're getting beyond just sort of setting or character or general category genre of the reading. Is it fiction, nonfiction? We're getting into some much more higher order thinking, or even saying something like, what would you have done differently if you were the main character of this story? That's higher level thinking. Which intervention program uses a tiered approach in which students in lower tiers need less support and students in higher tiers need more support? And so that would be the response to intervention program. And so this way that typically you can use this even with someone who isn't demonstrating a lot of problematic ability, but maybe a few warning signs. We don't have to fully qualify them to be on an IEP, but we can do some things to provide some additional support. And then the more involved they are in terms of their delays or disorders or issues, or if we're looking at just linguistic diversity, their ability to acquire or learn the language of the classroom, we might get more intense in our support and instruction. So really a tiered approach, we can go from lowest tier, easy, low level of intervention to highest tier where we're doing far more to respond to their needs. That was the quiz 13. Now I'm going to go over the last thing, our quiz 14, which you took as of today. And therefore, so let's take a look. We'll start with, I usually like to start with the one that more people may have had trouble with. So this one, and remember this one is about fostering partnerships. So which model of parental training involves parents learning the teacher's techniques for learning for language enrichment that the parents can implement in the home? And that was parent as teacher. So the parent is learning the teacher's strategies and then using them at home with their child. This one is, which model of parent and family training involves parents being taught to effectively work with other parents who may be resistant to participate in programs that encourage increased language stimulation in the home? And the answer to that was parent as trainer model. So there the parent is not just using strategies at home, but they're actually teaching other parents how to use them, parent as trainer. The instructional strategy that allows students to apply learning in a variety of settings is called generalization. So they may learn it in the classroom, but we want them to be able to use those skills and knowledge in other settings outside the classroom and at home, etc. So using parents as a means of enhancing knowledge that they've learned in that classroom environment is very important. So this one, this was a choose all that apply. So you had to choose everything that applied to this question. I have a few of these in this quiz. So recent research indicates which of the following strategies that teachers can provide to parents have or has a positive impact on children's language and literacy skills. And guess what? All of them are effective. So things like early and consistent participation in routine learning activities such as shared book reading, teaching letters and numbers, trips to libraries, and other enriching destinations while talking about objects and events. Quality parent-child interactions characterized by varied and rich information, providing age-appropriate learning materials that support children's language and learning. So all are supported by evidence. Here's another choose all. Choose all that apply. Which of the following are important language skills or experiences that children need to be effective in the role of parent trainer? So again, choose all. Remember, you may have one response, you may have all of them. This one, not all. And so you all were really good to leave this one out. You do not have to be a parent to be an effective support to train other parents, to train parents how to be effective in enhancing language development. You do, however, need to have a thorough knowledge of language development from infancy to late adolescence, and that is why you are taking this class, so that you will be able to bring that knowledge to the training and education you provide your parents. Being able to identify signs of atypical speech language development. Once again, these are things that you've been learning this semester. Knowing instructional strategies that will enhance language learning from infancy through adolescence. Once again, these are things we've been doing all semester, so you're going to be well equipped. And then the teacher realizes their own importance as a language model. This is very important because you, as a teacher, you think, oh, well, I'm just telling them I'm teaching, but I'm also a model. The language that I use is something that they're observing and listening to, so that's important. As a teacher, I can talk to them about what I'm about to do. Oh, I'm going to get the toys for our next activity. This is a way that we can model for them language. A layered approach to using individualized supports to teach new concepts is called scaffolding. Okay, so we can provide sort of hints. We can do things like recast, where we essentially model the correct language or the target language that we're looking for. You know, we can provide basically the amount of help that they need depending on where they are, where their mastery is. Choose all that apply. Which of the following are areas for which families can reasonably be expected to positively impact language development in their children? And all except, I didn't feel this is really the parent having to learn the material, especially if you once you get to middle school and above. I don't think parents can be reasonably expected to learn very high level information about science and math and other topics, even literature, history. Some of these things are certainly very high level, and parents who do know these things certainly offer advantages for their students. But children can be effective in their learning even when parents don't have this kind of specialized academic concept learning knowledge. But we can support, as parents can support oral language development, interaction and play development, literacy development, active listening skill development. These are all going to be critical for the student to be able to acquire this academic concept learning. And I think parents need that encouragement. Sometimes they feel rather under prepared to help their middle school or high school student excel when they don't know some of the concepts. This happened a lot with transitions over how math was taught. Parents were finding this is not how I learned math, so it's hard for me to support my student. And that, part of that is to learn how this, there are opportunities to learn what is a ratio table when we definitely never used ratio tables growing up. But it's more important that the parent knows, how can I help my student be a more active listener so that they can learn about these in the classroom. When a teacher demonstrates for families how they engage in verbal interactions with a student to enhance language and literacy, the teacher is using active modeling. So perhaps we're having a parent meeting, and I would say to the parent, so if I had, your student with me, I could enhance language and literacy by saying, "Oh, I see that you're learning about the Renaissance. I have a book about that." Or let's look up the Renaissance online together. I want to see, maybe there's some cool things we can learn. So that is a way that I can enhance, and we can talk about those concepts with our children. But I, as a teacher, can role play that. I can show that in my consultation with the parent. And I'm happy to see no one chose condescension. We definitely don't want to be condescending with the parents. That certainly isn't going to be likely to inspire them to enhance language learning at home. Effective parent programs designed to increase children's language and literacy skills have which of the following characteristics? And the answer was consistent and sustained use over time. So doing a one-off workshop with parents is not going to cut it. We need to provide a planned, consistent message and consistent program that is giving parents repeated opportunities to learn and try out their strategies. Some of these other things have to do with accessibility. So making it inaccessible by requiring parents to take off work. You may work in a community where a lot of the parents work a variety of shifts. And so if you only make it available in the evening, that makes it challenging. If you only make it available during the day, that could be challenging. But if you offer 2 different sessions, that makes it much more accessible. Or maybe even providing 2 different sessions, and the session is recorded and can be available to them online. So lots of different things. You certainly don't want to use different methodologies. Certainly there are different methodologies, but things that are radically different, we don't want to encourage. It's okay to use computers, tablets, and TV as the basis of learning. You can read on your tablet. You can pull up a Kindle app and read. There are reading apps. So I think as most of us who've done some had experience in education know, there are many computer-based ways that we are encouraging students to learn. So it is okay for them to use these as bases of learning. We certainly want to have a variety of inputs, but that is an okay input as well. And it may be more accessible for some families. I know over the pandemic, for a while the public library was closed, but we could check out ebooks, and that was something that was more accessible for my family. What is one of the ways families can model that reading is important while creating opportunities for increased family interaction? And so that question stem is very important. We need to be able to look at the answer choices that meet those criteria. The families are modeling and they're creating opportunities for interaction. So the answer was the caregivers set aside regularly scheduled time to read as a family and discuss what they are reading with one another. So they're by setting aside regularly scheduled time, we're saying this is important. And then by discussing with each other what they're reading, we are interacting and making it social, making it something that